a real fine line in improvising. Not even a fine line, but more like there's sort of a dual purpose of messing with your partner or partners. Is like, it's fun to sort of put somebody on the spot and have them do something that they weren't planning on doing and don't know what the hell it is. And you're like, weren't you going to sing a song right now? Like, whatever it is. Like,
That's always
something where you're kind of like, but it's also really fun if everybody trusts each other and everybody's like kind of having a good time, and the person who's been put on the spot knows that everybody's going to back them up.
Yeah.
It can be a lot. I think that's a lot of fun. I think that's a lot of what Kate and I end up doing, is like constantly just sort of like hitting the ball over to the other guy and saying, yeah, well, I mean, you knew about this, but you visited the factory where they did this, right? And he'll be like, oh yeah, of course, and then he'll go off on whatever that is that no one has any idea what we're talking about.
You mentioned singing, and singing is the one that I hate the most for someone to make me do.
Noted.
Oh, god damn it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I was on stage, and one of my troupe mates, he's like, oh, do you like records? Because I've got these records here. And looked over at me like, you got to sing now, buddy. Like, and so the game just became make Patrick sing, and he would change, be like, oh, well, here's one from a different genre, And so that was just, and the audience could tell that I was like, son of a, had to sing, did it well, but it's like, oh, no.
Did it well, humble brag.
No, I mean, I did the game well.
Yeah,
sure.
Oh boy.
That is nerve-wracking, and I'm always impressed. Like, have you guys heard the podcast? It's called Off Book, the improvised musical. It just kind of started not long ago.
Mm-mm.
No.
It's really funny, and it's like the first episode, the guest was Paula Tompkins. Like, it's that level of I think it's on Earwolf. I think it's that guy.
That's
and those guys, these two, I can't remember their names, but it's two people, and then they have a guest, and I'm just blown out of the water. I just can't. I mean, I'll do whatever, but I mean, they are really good. And some of the times, it really. But actually, I guess that's the point, though. Like, some of the times, it really sounds like an incredible song, and it's really hilarious and funny. And then other times, it kind of goes down the toilet a little bit, but they're still cracking up and having a good time.
Right.
And they trust each other. They know it's going to work, as long as everybody's on board and they're all supporting everybody, especially the guest who's maybe a little more nervous than they are. I don't know. It's great. It's really, that singing on cue as an improviser, that impresses me. That's not my game.
Similarly to what I was saying before, how I love me some structure, I actually did a musical improv troupe for a little while, and we were super structured. Like, we had a guy that was in it who just really understood like writing music and creating songs and song structures and how to get two or three of us involved without necessarily having to all sing the exact same way. And it was great because we essentially rehearsed 3 or 4 styles of songs, and they were very clear. Like, the first move that the person made was very clear which one of the styles that they had chosen, right? So we could all just jump on and help, knowing sort of they had telegraphed to us what they were about to set up, and we're like, great, how can we help? And then it builds from there. But like, every time people were like, that was insane, and it was like, yeah, I mean, but it's just because you can't see the puppet strings.
Yeah.
Like we're legitimately, it always felt like cheating too, because we were always talking about it, and we were like, is that, we did a lot of stuff like that, though, because we not only, why did we do this to ourselves? It was a musical improv show, and it was narrative. Never do that. Never, ever. No. Because then at the end, you have to sing some, like, this is what we learned, kind of like song, and that's ridiculous.
Right. It's got to make sense somehow.
Yeah, right? And really, you just want to be like, mattresses are fluffy, don't you think? Don't you think? Like, and then what does that have to do with nothing? But, like, that's kind of how it goes. You want fun like that. But so we would have the styles of the music, right? there were only two. Well, actually, everybody but me played guitar. back to the musician thing. Yeah, I actually had a bag of percussion instruments. I had a tambourine. I had like some drumsticks. I had like maracas, that kind of stuff. And yeah,
I think the lesson there is learn how to play guitar, or you have to carry the bag of.
Absolutely, it is. That's the lesson of every drummer, isn't it? Why didn't I just learn how to play guitar?
I really wanted to
Why
play
am I
drums.
not the singer?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. All I ever wanted to do was be the pretty boy front man. I tried too hard.
I wanted to play the drums.
You wanted to play the drums?
Yeah, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
What? No.
Yeah, the
You're
left.
such a drummer.
It's the left hand, right hand, left foot, right foot. Can't do it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's stuff I don't understand at all. I don't understand. I play guitar a little bit, and your left hand and right hand are working a little bit differently, but they're working together on a thing. But drumming, that makes my brain hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's why the really good drummers, most of them, their kind of mouth just sort of hangs open most of the day. Their brain, they're able to kind of unplug their brain and be they're all four limbs. They're like a spider monkey. They're like everything's prehensile and can do a thing. It's not my thing.
I can't even play the maracas on beat. It's lucky. I always say this. Here, Jeff can finally back me up. I'm always saying, okay, so people say to me, oh, have you done stand-up? And I go, well, kinda. I did stand-up at these alt mics, and I mostly just went up on stage and said, hi, you like me? And the audience was like, yes, we do. And then I was like, great, I'm just going to keep talking to you because you like me, and that's it.
Was that your actual opener?
I don't think so. It should have been.
Yeah, it was like the power of suggestion, right? That's how we're called, you just
snapping your
sort
fingers.
of hypnotize us, and we all liked you, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly. I've been hypnotizing people for a while, and then people just let me do what I want, and they give me keys to the theater, and they go, you can go in here whenever you need to, and I go, okay.
The pocket watch makes much more sense now. So much more sense.
Right.
That's why I have a pocket watch. Yeah, exactly. Oh, good Lord.
So you're no longer doing stand up either. You're not doing stand up. You're just you're straight up performing improv now. Teaching all that.
Actually, mostly I would say like most of the time I do sketch. I did improv for a long time. I teach improv, and I do that a lot. I coach it and teach it, but I don't perform it quite as much. I used to have, like, when I had that musical improv troupe, I had a solid like group, and we were together for like 3 years. But when that broke up, it was like I just couldn't. I'm still mourning it. I couldn't get it together. I've had a few short-term troupes, people who I've loved, and I wanted to put the troupe together, but then I was like, and then I lost the like will to schedule. And I'm really good at that stuff, but I only really love scheduling the things that are like my big projects. So like my big projects are the Neighborhood sketch comedy show, which Patrick and I do. And that's a monthly show at the New Movement. And then I do this podcast, which Patrick and I do.
Right, yeah.
Also, Wendell, our third co-host, who's working right now and couldn't be here to chat with you, is also in the Neighborhood as well. So
that is correct.
I pretty much just hang out with these two all the time. But yeah, so those are my two big projects. Anything else that I do is sort of like, you know, I'm helping somebody else with a project, or like I'm doing a side thing, but I don't do all the scheduling and the you know, rigmarole and all that for those. I just couldn't get it together, you know. But but yeah, sketch is mostly my thing. How did you get from stand up, which you did for so long, to podcast improv?
Well, I'll tell you, I sort of bailed on stand-up and New York at the same time when I really, like, it was funny, like, I did stand-up I only actually did not do it for that long. I really only did stand-up for about 5 years, which in stand-up years is not really that long to get very good. I wasn't, you know, I was good for an early going person, and I did all right. And I got one TV credit, and almost in my heart quit the week after that. Like I was really like, okay, all right. It's like if you were mountain climbing, and I was like, okay, I got up to the ledge here. This is great. All right. So what's next? I was like, oh, more of that, I guess. I guess it's just more climbing then.
Or I could jump.
Yeah, or I could just stop doing this and do another thing. So, I wrote a book a while ago, and it was a really stupid, silly book called Manslations, and it sold upwards of 11 copies. And, yes, I had 5s and 7s of fans, like you just can't believe.
There's more reviews than that on Amazon.
Well, not many. Not many more than that. No, it was, and that was a really fun experience. But it was just like, oh yeah, that's not quite it either. And I got married. You know my wife, Amy, right? You know Liz.
Yes.
Liz Maher?
Yeah.
You know Liz. Yeah. Okay. Good. Because that's right. And so she and I we got married, and we got married out here in New Mexico. And I was like, I don't like New York, and I do like it here a lot. So got a little house out here and moved down to New Mexico. And like my life has been like a series of like really like hard bursts of effort, and then very long periods of not doing anything at all, and then like a black through like I started doing stand-up when I was in my like early 30s or so. Like I had not done really much in the way of art in quite a while. Like I had written some stuff, but I had not really done anything for a long time. I went to school for theater, and when I got out of school, I was in a comedy group in New York for a little while, and then I didn't do much of anything for a while. And then I was like, okay, I got to do something. So I do stand-up. Like I had my hair on fire for a few years. And
how did you find the scene though? Because it was such a weird scene. You remember you were one of the normal ones. How'd you find it?
I will tell you exactly how I found it. I have known Eric Kirchberger since I was probably 14 years old, 13, 14 or so. And he was another comic in the scene, right? And, and he had been doing stand-up, there for a while. And I mean, I was such a chicken. I was so just panicked about the idea of getting up. I had never been nervous about acting. When I was an actor, I was like, that's not a problem at all. You go up, you have a script, you have other actors. But if it's stand-up, it's really you. I mean, it's really, even improvising, there's a character and there are other people, but it's like you and your ideas and your thoughts, and I'm talking to this room. It scared me to death.
Yeah.
And Kirchberger kept being like, dude, it's just really not that hard. It's just, I mean, it'll be fine, whatever. And so finally I went to Reverend Jen's Anti-Slam. Was the first one I went to. I don't know if you've talked about that on your show before, but Reverend Jen was she called herself the patron saint of the insane, and she wore elf ears 24/7, like even at her day job, she would wear elf ears all the time. And she had a dog named Rev Jen Jr., like the Reverend Jen Jr. It was a little chihuahua that would like be asleep in her purse as she walked back and forth to the stage to introduce the next act. And it was the craziest scene in the world where she would, I mean, it was like, because it wasn't just stand-up, it was like the stand-up open mics are really rough. Those things are really kind of hand-to-hand combat. And these things, like there was no heckling, there was no harassing the audience if you were the performer. It was not just stand-up. It wasn't just comedy at all. There were people who were poets, and there were people who would just go up on stage and ask if the audience had any questions for them, and they would answer them. There were musicians, there were whatever. And so it was a really weird and very fun scene to kind of get used to the idea of doing something, because no one cared. I mean, you could go up and completely eat shit. I mean, like really have the worst set of your lifetime. and walk off, and no one's even like looking at you sideways. Like, no one cared. Like, no one will remember it 15 seconds later. And it really gave you it just gave you the freedom to be like, oh, okay, and then you feel actually brave when you go back up again after you eat it on stage, of course. But it also there was a little bit of a net there.